whatever you want to do.
Are we gonna say all these names?
You can say blah, 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 you can say you're on care, you can skip down to wherever you want to skip. You can skip for sure.
Say
All right.
Okay.
After the wall had been rebuilt, I had set the doors in place, the gatekeepers, the musicians, and the Levites for appointed. I put in charge of Jerusalem my brother Hananiah, along with Hananiah, the commander of the citadel, because he was a man of integrity and feared God more than most people do. I said to them, the gates of Jerusalem are not to be opened until the sun is hot, while the gatekeepers are still on duty, having shut the doors and barred them. Also appoint residents of Jerusalem as guards, some of their posts and some near their own houses. A list of exiles who returned. Now the city was large and spacious, but there were few people in it, and the houses had not yet been rebuilt. So my God put it into my heart to assemble the nobles, the officials, and the common people for registration of my families. I found the genealogical record of those who had been the first to return, and this is what I found written here. These are the people of the provinces who came up from the captivity of the exiles from Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. They taken captive, they returned to Jerusalem and Judea, each to his own town. In captivity was Zerubbabel and Joshua, Nehemiah, Azariah, Nehemiah, Nehemiah, and Mordecai, Bilshan, Mispereth, Bigthophel, Nahum, and Benaiah. And the list of the men of Israel you can see in your Bible.
Yes. Skip down to what verse?
You can see. And the priests are the descendants of Jedediah, and you can see those names. And the Levites, and the gatekeepers, the musicians, the temple servants, and the descendants of the servants of Solomon. You see all those in your Bible. The temple servants and the descendants of the servants of Solomon. And among the priests, the descendants of Obadiah, and Ahaziah, Barzillai, and man who married the daughter of Barzillai, and Gideonite, and was called by that name. He searched for their family records, but they could not find them, for they were excluded from the priesthood as unclean.
I'm going to tell you on chapter verse 65. If you are everybody there? Okay, everybody's there. Cool. Okay. Keep going.
Okay, the governor therefore ordered them not to eat any of the most sacred food until there should be a priest ministering with the Urim and Thummim. The whole company numbered 42,360, besides their 7,337 male and female slaves. And they also had 245 male and female singers. There were 736 horses, 245 mules, 435 camels, and 6,720 donkeys. Some of the heads of the families contributed to the work. The governor gave to the treasury 1,000 derricks of gold, 50 bowls, and 530 garments for priests. Some of the heads of the families gave to the treasury for the work 20,000 derricks of gold and 2,200 minas of silver. The total given by the rest of the people was 20,000 derricks of gold, 2,000 minas of silver, and 67 garments for the priests. The priests, the Levites, the gatekeepers, the musicians, and the temple servants, along with the certain of the people and the rest of the Israelites, settled in their own towns. When the seventh month came, that's it. Start chapter 8.
So, number 1, or number 3 actually. Verses 1 through 3, what progress is Nehemiah making with his goals and objectives? Now, when the wall had been built, and I had set up the doors, and the gatekeepers, the singers, and the Levites had been appointed, I gave my brother Hananiah, the governor of the castle, charge over Jerusalem, for he was a more faithful and God-fearing man than many. I said to them, let not the gates of Jerusalem be opened until the sun is hot, and while they were still standing guard, let them shut and bar the doors. Appoint guards from among the inhabitants of Jerusalem, some at their guard posts, and some in front of their own homes. So what progress are we making here? What goals are we achieving? The wall is up. Yay! The doors are set. Yay! We can open and close them and bar them and not bar them. Yay!
I want to say that he handed over leadership.
Okay, so he's looked at leadership, appointed, right?
Yeah, he handed out the responsibility to the brother.
Okay, a brother and then also the governor, yep. Guards were posted.
And the temple staff was, set.
Okay?
Singers
The Levites, the singers, and those types of folks. Okay.
He brought it to completion.
You know what?
He brought it to completion, and then he more or less says, okay, my job is done here.
Okay, so it's bring it to completion. Wasn't done yet, but the wall was done. Okay. Yes. So we're getting there. All of a sudden, things are falling into place, even after the naysayers of the last couple of weeks and the griping and groaning about all these things. Here, we got something to look at, something to see. Are you proud or embarrassed by your family history?
I see you laughing there.
Okay, 5.
Well, the more you know, the more you realize they were human.
Yes, the more you know, the more you feel they were human.
Yeah.
You have a few black sheeps and sheepsa, and yes. Okay. And we're probably gonna find that out here with Nehemiah, and we found that already back here last week. Some too, didn't we? That they were some were kind of. Okay.
Pastor, our forefathers would rather see us be more successful than them.
Yes.
If we looked up to them and think they were the greatest, better than us too, would they feel like they had failed? I think my daddy would probably say he is more proud of me than he's ever been of himself.
Because you achieved more, you mean?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, he's a school teacher, great teacher, you can't touch that. But yet, I think when I look back, you know, I want to say I'm walking up that staircase. And, you know, if I look back and look up, then I must be going down. Okay? So,
Yeah, I was wondering, as you said that, I was wondering, this is just sermonizing off the cuff here, but our parents, not our parents, but how often parents, and maybe we got this backwards, you said something to the effect our parents want us to do better than they did in the world type of deal, you know, and that's probably what maybe our problem is today, is we want our kids to do better than we did in the world type of deal, but what about our keeping them in the faith life and I don't know, your daddy probably taught that well, you know, he taught the faith well at home, I'm sure. No, yes?
yes.
Yes. Yeah.
There was a lot of Sunday mornings he had to fight with me to get me out of bed.
Yeah, he did.
18, 19-year-olds.
But it's interesting, yeah, that, you know, do many in the world, many in the church spend more time making sure their kids get farther ahead, salary-wise, job-wise, house-wise, car-wise than I did, or that you stay in the faith? So, yes, ma'am.
Well, I look at it, I think my Nana, because my Nana and my grandfather, they weren't in church at all. And my Nana, and I look back at that generation, she took it upon herself to start taking the kids to my mom to church, my mom and her brothers and sisters. And regardless of what my grandfather said, I always looked to her that, you know, she took the courage to know God's important in our lives.
Okay, yes. So your grandfather might have been, you can tell me yes or no, might have been more keyed on making sure you succeed in life, find a good husband, get a good job, have good kids, whatever. And grandma, and that's oftentimes moms and grandma's deal, isn't it? We got many more female folks in church on a Sunday morning, or in Bible class on a Sunday morning, or whatever. That's the deal. Sunday school teachers are all female right now, except for one. And so yeah. So it seems to be grandma's and mom's job to do that. And some dads will even tell you, right? Some stand in the way, or don't do it, and some say, I won't stand in the way. You can do it, but count me out. And that has all kinds of implications as well. What is that? I just preached on that a year ago, I bet. Those numbers, but they won't come to me. That something like if dad and mom take the children to church, worship, spiritual life, all that stuff, like 98% sticks or whatever. And if mom does it alone, not much sticks, and if dad does it alone, a lot more sticks. So dad's very, very important.
Only 17, I saw that.
Yeah, Jim, I just preached in Nebraska last year, I think, last year, about this time, or somewhere in here, June, July, August, something. Yep. So yeah, that's a crazy statistic. So, what safeguards does Nehemiah put into place to protect Jerusalem?
Sets the guard.
Guards.
Keeps the gates closed till the heat of the day.
Okay, so he doesn't open the gates up early, he waits till the guards are ready to go, he sets the guards, people find their home places again where they're gonna build and
Yeah, they
settle.
pick the most God-fearing and,
Okay,
people to be the leaders.
okay? They were more faithful and God-fearing men than many, right? Okay, so that's also maybe what we need to pick in leadership roles as well. Who do you pick as elders, right? The God-fearing, faithful, leadership, studied kind of people. Yeah. Not the guy that you need to get to come to church every Sunday at least twice a month, or twice a year, so you put him as an elder. Yeah, I like him to church.
They
Let's
also
do communion.
put guards out, and like at the gates in front of their homes, and I've thought about this about the school problems we've had, bad things have happened at schools. Well, when I was teaching, we were told to be in the hall where you can make sure that those kids are behaving.
Yep.
And, that's important to have people there.
Yes. And that's yeah.
It's a preventative.
Yep. Yes. So you eat lunch with your children in parochial schools anyway, and not just leave them because you have to have your time off or whatever. And yeah.
Your presence
So you're there. Your presence is there.
Let them know you're there.
And it makes a big difference. As soon as I walk into the FAC, what happens?
It gets quiet.
We're just bouncing the ball, Pastor. Or kicking it or not. So yeah, so just the presence. Yep. Very true. So 6, we ran into Hananiah before in Nehemiah 1 verse 2. From the qualifications given in verse 2, why would Nehemiah trust him? So Nehemiah 1:2 says,
Well, in Nehemiah 1:2, Hananiah is his brethren, and in 7:2, he's his brother.
okay,
What's the difference?
nothing.
And
Okay.
it says one of my brothers.
Yep. I don't know why it said, what translation do you have?
Nikki James.
Okay, I don't know. It might be a different Hebrew word, I don't know. It shouldn't, but yeah, here's both brother. Okay. So 1 verse 2, so brother, yes, in ours, the Hananiah, one of my brothers, came with certain men from Judah, and I asked them concerning the Jews who escaped, who had survived the exile, and concerning Jerusalem. So, he's back there in 1:2, he's here, next one. Why would Nehemiah trust him? He's his brother, so what's he know about his brother?
Man of integrity,
Man of integrity.
loves God more than most.
Okay,
And he was the commander of the citadel.
okay, and trustworthy.
Wait, is
So
that
we-
two different people?
Yeah, it's two different
The citadel is Hananiah, and
This
the
is-
brother is Hananiah.
Hananiah, very good. Yes. So, and if you know your brother, and he was a scoundrel, you would put him in place. Well, you shouldn't. Modern day politics, maybe you would, but you shouldn't. And so Nehemiah would not do that. And so he knew his brother well. And so he was able then to put him into charge here back in chapter number 7. Hananiah. Yes.
And one could say he
His
associated
brother
with
also
people of good
come
character.
and reported that the people in Jerusalem were having problems. In
Yes.
in verse 3,
Yes.
1-3.
Yep.
He was the one that asked for help.
Yep. Very true. And Cindy said what?
I said, it said Hanani and also along with Hananiah, the commander of the citadel, because he was a man of integrity and feared God more than most men do. That his brother also associated with people of good character.
Okay. Okay. Around themselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
If his brother's a scoundrel, he probably associates with scoundrels.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Lots of good. That's a good pickup. Yes. The company you keep and all that good stuff. Okay. So we had again good people in positions of leadership. Good people in positions of authority. So Nehemiah decides, number 7, that the families who have entered from exile should be registered. How would the registration force the people to deal with Israel's sin and mixing themselves with the people of the nations around them? Verses 63 through 65 again said,
they wanted to see, sounds like, who were true Israelites.
Right, so God's rule for them was what?
They could not intermarry with the.
Could not intermarry with the people whose land they came in to possess, right? Because he knew what? If you intermarry with the people in the lands you come in to possess, what happens?
You will never
Lose your religion.
You can lose your religion because the wives you marry bring their family gods in with them, and we want to, mama's happy, everybody's happy, what's that saying? If mama ain't happy, the house ain't happy or something, nobody's happy, so yeah, so she brings her religion, her gods in, and we saw it happen all the time, don't we? Or we see it happen all the time, Solomon
Yes.
and others. Yep,
That's the whole reason we got exiled to start with.
that's how some of God do what?
That was the whole reason they were exiled to start with.
Okay.
They started worshiping
Yes.
Baal and Asherah. So, I mean, I think Nehemiah is making a concerted effort here not to allow that to happen again.
Okay, so that's why we go back to the genealogies, right?
Yes.
Figure out who's who, who's married to what, to who, what religion, what nationality, what nation. Okay. And so they had those genealogies to come up on 63 to 65. Those genealogies work through to see who is who. To see who can be priest even farther down, 64 and 65. Okay.
I've got a question.
Yes, ma'am. Make it easy.
And I hope so. In verse 65, it said that there should be a priest ministering with the Urim and the Thummim. What is that?
Oh, what is that?
It's almost, isn't it like casting,
No, I think they were, in my mind, you straighten me out, what's the notes down below say? In my mind, if I'm correct, they were stones through which they, right? You fix me up.
Yeah, the stones
That they used to
they cast.
yes, to know what was
Cast
right and
lots.
wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Divining stones?
It's like throwing the bones.
throwing the bones, yeah, but not like now gambling or whatever, but yes, God would work through that. God would work through that to tell them, yes. Yep. What'd you say, Michael?
Divining
Or
stones.
divining stones?
Yeah. According to that.
To know, to
Joseph had a cup that he used for divination.
ascertain what God's word, will, plan is? Yeah. Yes, those would not be Urim and Thummim, but yes, that'd be God worked through the lots to pick, yes, the juice's replacement.
My translation says that literally it means lights and perfections. Urim and Thummim mean lights and
Like
perfections.
perfections. Yes, sir, Mr. Whitty.
Well, I just lost it.
We'll say one, and then, oh, you got that.
Two sacred lots placed in a breastpiece and were used by the high priest to receive answers from the Lord.
Okay.
So when did that go away? When did they stop doing that?
I have no clue when the last time they did that. I don't know.
But,
That was from
I mean-
Exodus 28, by the way.
And I've been in the priest's garments, yeah. I don't know when it quit. The Mormons still do it. Anyway, they have glasses they look through.
it seems like that's pretty important if they got their word of God from that.
I don't know, the word of God came to, yes,
Direction.
yes, I'm gonna say more of, yeah, discerning, yeah. Let me research more.
Yeah, it just seems like if that was the way they got their direction from God, did something happen to change that?
Well, if something happened to changes, we got it written down now.
Yeah.
They didn't have this.
Yeah.
Right.
They didn't have this back in the day. We have Christ. You said, crucified,
Well,
raised up.
yeah, I understand the New Testament cast all that deed out, but before that, I mean, it was quite a few years before Christ came, so that isn't mentioned beyond Nehemiah, is it?
That I don't know when they last time it's mentioned.
Well,
Yeah.
he revealed himself through the prophets in those days.
That's good. Yes. My beautiful wife says, which is true, that Nehemiah is the end of the Old Testament, so that'd be the end of the,
Oh, well, that makes
that'd
sense.
be the end of it. I was gonna look up where,
Look at it.
that was a very wise thought. Thank you. You need a new teacher in here. LMPQRSTU. Even though it's not the end of the Old Testament, well, you've got it written down, right? But after this, then you got the 400 years of intertestamental silence. Sure, I'll look at it, report back. How's that?
Okay.
Be easier than researching here and using up your time. Okay. There it is. Cool. Good question. Come back next week for the answer. Okay. Number 8. Spiritual purity and practice were very low in Israel at this time, and most of these people had not lived on the family land for over 100 years. What does Nehemiah's registration cause to happen here?
Wouldn't they lose
That'd be
their
the vision.
inheritance if they couldn't prove that?
Okay, you can't prove it. Okay, so they need to go back and see who they belong to, the lineage coming back. What would that also do for them?
Purify their lineage.
Okay,
Create a hierarchy.
and take them back to Exodus and Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because they do all this. And they would know their lineage far better than we do because of that list of names we just read, right? They're all over the Bible. Lineages of this guy had this kid, that kid had that kid, that kid had that kid, and go to the numbers sometime and get the censuses and all those things. So lineage was very important. So there'd probably be some division, yes.
In the hierarchy, well, I've been a Jim Lumber, all that.
Yep.
More pure blood, something like that, and there would probably be some looking down on others.
Uh-huh.
Well, even today, we really highly respect these businesses that are fifth generation.
Yes.
You know, fourth generation, that's something to be revered or trusted.
If they've been in business that long, they gotta be good. Except the fifth generation sons of Turkey. Or whatever. Yes. Yep.
Doing business and
Indeed.
I've seen that so many times, driving the truck. I've seen total warehouses just, you look at it and say, somebody had the passion to build this crate. Somebody had the passion to lead this, and look at all the jobs that got to come here and then gone. Once the leaders of that organization die, the passion for that company usually dies with them. And then it's just gone, and it's just kind of a sad reality. That was somebody's life, that was their career, that was their everything. And then, oh,
And the hiring people for the community and all that. Yep, people in the community.
and one time they had Great Lakes in, donated money to all the charities and the kids sports and all that stuff, and now,
Yep.
doesn't make any sense. That who has the passion for your business than you, and it's hard to pass that kind of passion down, because usually the sons of a businessman are so used to having it just given to them that they're not willing to work as hard as their parents did, and then they just want to cash in for the money,
Oftentimes.
And that's been going on forever, I think. I don't think there was a time where that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Yep, oftentimes it's like that. Without a doubt. So why couldn't some of them make a connection with past relatives or their family inheritance?
Lost contact with them.
Lost contact with them, or they married in and married all these inner things, right, where you couldn't keep the whole lineages and all these.
They were cast out of their community because of living in sin or whatever, so
Okay.
yeah, they went off on their own, and never returned, you know.
Okay, what?
They disown,
Disown.
they married somebody that doesn't do it.
Okay? So you got all this intertwining, all this stuff. Hardship. Verse 10.
Well, Pastor, is that kind of another reason, is this all making me think about, you know, the fourth commandment, you know, honor your father and mother so that you may live long in the land that God has given you. You know, yes, could they have, you know, turned their back on their parents and gone, you know, whatever.
Yep. True. And then intermarried foreign women and all this type of deal, and yep. And so not doing, yes. So very simply, God says, this is the commandment. It goes good if you do this, it goes bad if you don't do this. And indeed. So number 10 in verse 73, many people settle in their town. So verse 73 says something to the effect of, so the priests, the Levites, the gatekeepers, the singers, some of the people, the temple servants, and all Israel lived in their town. It is an agrarian society, and they make their living off of the land, which is their family inheritance. So that's the whole Jubilee year and all this stuff, right, to the Old Testament. Because in the Jubilee year, what happens to all the land that you sold? It goes back to the family, right? So God set it up. This is the land I give you. This is the land I give to your family. This is the land I give to you individually. This is yours. And they have all those laws and all those rules. Okay. So it's an agrarian society, living off the land, family inheritance. How difficult do you think it would be to populate Jerusalem if the main way you made your living was by farming? Oh, yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Patiently waiting.
My Bible says, some of the people, the Nethinim,
73.
yeah, is that temple servants?
Say it.
It's Nethinnim.
I don't know.
Well, you said temple servants.
Temple, is that the only one that's missing? There must be
Yeah.
temple servants then.
That's
Okay.
what I was wondering, if that was the formal name for temple servants.
N-E, y'all are intriguing me. N-E-T-H.
Thinim.
Must be, but I don't know why. I don't know. I'll look on that one too. I'm intrigued. So yes, I don't know. Temple servant, I would guess if that's the one that I gave you all the rest that you have. So how difficult would it be in an agrarian society, a farmer, and have your have your home in Jerusalem?
You'd have to be traveling to your.
Traveling. Okay? Like to live on your farm. So you can see what's going on day to day.
Well, you gotta protect your farms too, don't you?
Okay? Protect your animals, protect your property, protect your crops, protect your. Okay? So it'll be tough. So yeah, a lot of people don't like living in the city.
Oh, not farm.
True.
I've seen many farmers that will move to a city, they sell their farm.
That kills mom and dad, doesn't it? If you're gonna kill mom and dad, say you gotta remove you in town, mom. Or dad. We're selling the farm.
I mean, not a small town, but move to a big city for a farm.
Even a small town.
They-
Yep. Many a farm sale. Yes, where that's one of the hardest days of your life to have the auction on your farm and then to have to move to town. And not even town in a nursing home, town into a nice house that you bought. And, yep, that's what you had all your life. And the kids don't want it. They moved on to the big city to get a real job. And yep, so very difficult. Very, very difficult.
They live in villages though to protect it, to find protection with more people.
Yes, they were not
And then
farms
they
like
go
we
out
have
to
farms
their
today.
Farmland
Yeah, we don't have farms like today where there are thousands of acres. These have been little.
Right, and then that one little house in the middle of it. But that would be hard to populate a large city that way because you want to get people together.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
have
good.
the land.
Yes.
Yes, just like in Europe, the farms are maybe 5 acres.
Yeah.
And people live inside a village or a town, the same size, a town's the same size as Jerusalem was in the day, and would move to the farm to do their farming. They had shepherd boys, they combined their flock, shepherd boy watched over, or the shepherd watched over the flock, whether it's your cattle, sheep, goats, whatever.
Yes.
More like a co-op, that we understand a co-op.
Yes, it would be like a co-op, okay, say David owns 4 sheep, and he marks them, the 4 that he owns. Then when that sheep has a lamb, he marks those. So as a result, you can go into a pasture or see a shepherd, and there might be 5 sheep with blue markings on it, or 6 sheep with the hindquarters that are pink, and the head would be a different color, blue or whatever. But that's the way they distinguish what their property is.
Okay, I got a question.
And the voice
That
of the
just
shepherd.
doesn't bear out. So when those animals mate, who owns the offspring?
That's Jesus.
When you have you, that lambs, the lamb mother, who owns the lamb's mother, owns the lamb.
Huh. Okay.
The daddy doesn't count. Usually the daddies are gone anyway, they slaughtered the male for substance.
There you go. Yes, sir.
On the question, I would think it'd be difficult because these people have farm plots or farms, whatever you wanna call them. Many of those would likely be outside the protection of the gated community, so you're asking us to leave our land and go live inside the gate for security,
Yes.
obviously. But who's watching my farm while I'm
Yes.
here?
And when do the gates open?
Yeah,
They don't open till the heat of the day, so I want to be out farming when it's cool, and yeah, my animals need food, and I got a full day's work ahead of me. I can't wait till the sun's blazing hot to go, and, yep.
Maybe they left when the gates were closed, just before the gates were closed, and came back in the heat of the day.
Maybe. I don't know. But in either case, it'd be hard.
Well, if it's hot, it's gotta be hot there, so I would think that would be a rational way to farm.
Or they might have just stayed under a tree.
Could be, or jumped in the stock tank.
They were probably used to it.
They were used to it. They're not as soft as we were either, or as we are. Probably.
That's true, that is.
Yeah.
There wasn't an HVAC.
True. So, who knows? It would have been difficult to have your property there come into here, right? So, in what ways are you concerned about your family history and protecting it? Are you? Nope. Okay. How far back can you identify Christians in your family?
6 generations.
6 generations. Hopefully, if you went back 5 generations, you can go 5. If you go back to the 1500s, you can go back to the 1500s. Come in, Stokers. Yes, she does. Oh, she was in a rocking chair. Cool. So, how far back we did that? How does the thought that you will be in someone's Christian family tree affect you? How's the fact that people looking back 100 years from now will say, my granny LaWanda was in St. Paul Evangelical Lutheran Church? So,
I say I feel sorry for him because I wasn't a stronger leader or stronger believer than what I would hope that my ancestors would find. You know, we never think about what example am I setting for future generations.
Right.
We think of ourselves and our fathers and past, but we never think forward. But tomorrow is never promised. Who's to say you will have ancestors?
Be simple.
I look at it this way, I'm here to fulfill God's purpose. Whatever that is, I will do that.
Okay,
And once I'm gone, I wouldn't take it.
okay. But as we do that, we look forward to the future, say, what can I do to
But you said
Strongly
after
lead.
we're dead, didn't you?
do what? I said something
Well,
about being dated.
being on a family tree, I mean,
Oh. You're already on the tree.
I gave it some oak wilt or something.
There you go. Tom Scab or something. So, but as we know that the future generations are going to look back at us after we're dead, they're going to look back on us. How does that empower us, equip us, move us to want to do something? Yes, sir.
I hope that, my grandchildren and further down will remember that my greatest desire was that they could see Christ in me and that I was a prayer warrior.
Okay. And as you desire that, then what do?
Follow through with that.
Follow through with that, both as yourself, as a prayer warrior, and yes, and then also instill that in them. This is my desire for you too. Because I think probably our ancestors did, maybe knowingly or not knowingly, as we look back on that, we see the activity they did. They took me out to the cement tank to sit on there and talk or whatever. They were praying for me when I came in late. They were doing this, whatever. So I guess that's where I'm headed, is what are we doing for that generations to come? They look back and say, because of Grammy Renee or whatever, her prayer warriorship and showing and talking to us about that, this is what we do now or whatever. Now we'll never know, after we're dead, what impact we had on them, but what are we doing to nourish, to nurture, to lead, to guide those that follow us? Yes, sir.
I think it's extremely important because for me, I can trace back Christians in my family and started for us when I married Rachel. So I wasn't raised in the church.
Mm-hmm.
But it's extremely important for us as Mary grew up to make sure that not only she was in church every Sunday, but we were sitting there with her.
Yes.
And she saw the things that we did, and the way we acted, and the way we related to each other at home. All of that is extremely important.
Yes. And so it wasn't just that we had them in church, but like you said, how we related to each other at home. How we live this faith life at home, how we bring the word, whatever, at home, how we conduct ourselves at home, how we conduct ourselves at work, or how the stuff from outside the world that came into our home, we brought in the garbage at work today, or the joy at work today, or whatever, our neighbors, how we dealt with that too. Yes.
Well, yeah, and when we were looking back at our ancestors earlier in the class, our ancestors lived by example, not just teaching us and bringing us to church, but the way they lived their life,
Right.
the kind of people they were. So yeah, that's
Not just for
really
an hour on
important.
Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, they set up their future generations as we should be.
Yes. Yes. That's my whole point. That's what I want to get across today. Yay. That it's our task to continue to
And they
teach,
tried,
continue to equip.
our ancestors tried to keep the pure faith, and that's why they came from Europe. There were other reasons too,
Yep.
economic and military reasons, but they wanted to stay away from the political aspect of religion.
So our task is to teach the faith, its truth and purity. Here, Sunday, Monday, or Sunday mornings, and also Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And yeah, it looks like we might be failing miserably at times, but, and our great-grandparents might have said if they knew us, oof, that dude's not long for this, whatever. And so, we
But
turned out, thank God, so God got us through that. Our task is to do. As what? God provides, yep. He does. So for your personal growth, go to the oldest people in your family and ask them about the family as far back as they can remember.
How far can you remember, Janice?
Family, because she's the oldest. She's the oldest we got.
John Wickler.
Okay, begin writing down that history, because what do we say as soon as that person dies? I wish I would have.
I'd asked.
Yep, I wish I would have asked them that question. I wish I would have put a microphone in front of their face and recorded them. I wish I would have paid more attention. Yep, exactly.
We did that with our last generation. All of my dad and his siblings were sitting in a semicircle, and they were recorded talking about church and growing up and their family squabbles and the fires and the good and the bad, and it's just so wonderful to go back and watch it.
Yeah, yep. And all you gotta do is ask them one question when you got
Yeah.
one or two or three, and they just
Yeah,
play off each other. Yep.
yes.
But it takes time. And make sure you have the tape device inside the machine. If somebody did not do that and they had hours.
Later, and there won't be a machine to play it on there.
Right, well, yeah, have a technology that you can play later. True. Okay. Anything else? Yay, on page sheets. We'll let Catherine pray, and then we'll hand out sheets real fast, and we'll go from there.
Let's pray. Dear God, thank you for allowing us to come and study your word this morning and now prepare our hearts for worship. Be with all who are not here for various reasons, that they may return as soon as they can. And thank you for the blessed rain that you have given us to replenish the moisture in our dry land. To give our crops a chance to grow and everything to just look so green and so luscious. Be with all of us this week. This I pray in your name.
Amen. Okay, so this will be my helper. Oh, Mr. Blankenmeyer, this will be my helper. Who wants a sheet? 1, 2, 3.